Good morning. It's Friday. 1 minute past 10. So that's not too bad considering it's Friday. Um, and I'm back with relaxing, probably not much painting today. Relaxing, some test painting, some sanding and filing, and I think some assembly. It's getting to be time to finish the assembly. Yeah, I got that closer there. Finish the assembly, this stuff there going in here of the bottom hull of the Savoia. There's all sorts of detail here, and it's looking pretty good. And on Monday, I finished the Porco Rosso figure that sits in the seat, and I had Nicole look at it, who plays Zoya Ansul, our changeling druid in our Dungeons and Dragons show. And she said, yeah, it's okay. It looks a little cartoonish, but then again, Porco Rosso was a cartoon. So I guess that seemed appropriate. I guess, why not? So I need to do stuff today, and it's, wow. I'm just looking at the workbench. I think on Friday I showed the workbench. On Monday, I think I showed everybody the workbench and just how it's totally cluttered. Just, yeah, all my square inches have been taken over by paints that haven't been put away, and some of it's my fault, and some of it is the people who are using the workbench when I wasn't using it. Well, I'm just going to make more of a mess. I'm going to remove this stuff. Here, I'll show you. Those, I thought that was all, but then I looked up there, and there's even more that haven't been put away. And you can see that I'm confined to the small space, not much bigger than in total than the paper towel that's sitting there. Well, I thought that during, the day off there, that maybe I'd get to it and clean it up, but I didn't. Didn't get that done. Nope. And so here it is. What I'm doing is trying to make room for the box that holds the parts that I should be working on. There we are. I think I gained about 5 pounds over the last 4 days. Feel like it. Now the weather's been, we had a white Christmas Eve and white Christmas Day. It was nice to have that now, but now it's getting warmer and it's raining and the weather is just yucky. 40 degrees and rain. Just, it's just unpleasant. Yeah, I don't need these in the other box. At some point during the stream, I'm going to be testing some paint. I have this nice glossy black paint that would go on the manifold, I guess, of the engine. Okay. It's a V6, and these are like the headers and the exhaust pipes, and that's supposed to be painted number 2, which is gloss black. And I could brush that on, but then it would leave brush marks. But I've got this black spray paint that I tested on the cardboard, and it didn't Well, it didn't cover all that well, but that's not the point. The point is, if I spray paint this, I'm also going to be painting the part that ends up being painted metallic, which is the stuff underneath here. And that, well, I don't want to do that unless the metallic paint adheres to and covers this black paint. Okay, so at some point later today, I'll be finding the colors that I want to use. Be like Dewar aluminium, dark aluminium. I say aluminium because that's what it says on the bottle. They're from Europe. And the dull gives me an excuse to look around for what I want. Aluminium. And of course, the one I really most want is the one I can't find. It's happened before, when I was looking for a particular paint color, and it turned out to be practically in my hand. I'm going to test these three colors. They're not different colors. They're different shades of metallic. They have less to more black pigment in the solvent, so they end up doing different colors. But I can do that later. There, ta-da! That's a ta-da thing. As you can see, this is actually come along quite nicely. If I show you the detail here, I got the wash on there, so it looks pretty decent. All the little controls here around the cockpit are multicolored, actually. Like that's dark gray, and then there's a metallic, and then it has a black handle on it. I don't know if you can see it, but the rudder pedals are black against the dark gray, and the control yoke in the center actually has 4 different colors of paint on it. So yeah, the detail, I think it came out really quite well. And even the instrument panel here is okay. It came out okay. So these parts are supposed to fit here now somehow. This one was actually attached at one point, and then it came loose because the attachment points are really tiny. I mean, there isn't much for them to hold on to, and it didn't. The cement that I put in there didn't hold. So, yeah, I mean, other than the fact that these are so small and I can't really get to them with my fingers, this shouldn't be too bad. That is to say, other than the fact that it's going to be difficult, it's not going to be too hard. Yeah. So this is the Porco guy. Porco came out okay. Okay. And there's 2 of them. There's this one too. This one is standing up on a stand. This one is designed to sit here in this chair. And I'm going to be putting Porco in the chair and then building the cage of the canopy around him. But this, I need to get this on first. Yeah, I mean, I have to use this, but the contact points are so tiny that you know, what happens with the cement is that if it leaks out of the contact point onto the rest of the surface, it leaves a glossy spot, and then that makes it look bad. It's difficult to touch up, especially since I put a wash on it. I have this other, well, before I dive into this and mess up what I've already started here, I've got this new contact cement. I don't know if this is any easier to use than the other stuff. If it's more like rubber cement, then it's much more liquid. I haven't used this before. I'm gonna give it a try. You have to do it on both surfaces. So I'm going to be putting a drop there, there, and then here and here. And just thinking maybe this would work. The thing about this is it gives you a little bit of time to doesn't set up right away, right? It gives me a little bit of time to get the cement on. Dries and sets up, which is what it's supposed to do. And I don't know if I have enough on there or not. I guess I'll find out when I touch this, when I touch the two surfaces together. If they stick, then it's okay. Yeah, it did. Okay, it worked. So that's a good thing. So one thing you'll notice here in this plane is, of course, there's two machine guns, big machine guns here. Okay. That obviously are loose. Well, that contact cement worked, and that white spot there now. I've been trying to keep it dust free. But finger's not working. clean toothpick. Their clean toothpick. Dust, which it shouldn't be there. The one thing you'll notice is that there's this gigantic fuel tank. I mean, relatively speaking, it's pretty huge compared to the rest of this, right in the middle of the plane. Well, it makes sense that it would be there because that would be the center of gravity. Okay. I mean, it really does make a lot of sense that it would be there because one, other than Porco, okay, this is the heaviest part of the plane when that's full. And you want the plane to pivot around its center of gravity. And if it were up in front, it would be nose heavy or tail heavy, and it would be very difficult to fly. But putting it right in the center like this, the other thing that happens is as the fuel is used up, it gets lighter and lighter, which means that if it were in the front and the back, it would start out to be very in the back, maybe very tail heavy, and then less and less as the fuel emptied, which means that, let me cap this up, got the contacts and uncapped. That would be awful if I spilled that. And it would, the flight characteristics would change pretty dramatically with time. But by putting it right in the center, okay, the plane pivots around that, and as it gets lighter, the plane just gets lighter, but the balance doesn't go. So that it's actually kind of impressive that we can see that in the detail of the interior. The one part that isn't great, though, is you notice there's this, which is sort of a firewall between the fuel tank and the machine guns. But there's nothing between the pilot and the fuel tank. There is this, the control panel that goes here, but it's open. So that means that the pilot's basically sitting in the fuel tank, essentially just sitting there in the fuel tank. And that, I can't imagine that is a terribly comfortable thing. I mean, I wouldn't like it really, but that's the way it is. Okay, so the way that the instructions say this is supposed to be built is that this cage, these 4 parts, are to be put together and then set onto the fuselage. But too many things can go wrong. Okay, one is, and I can't really show it to you. I don't think so. This goes in front. Okay, just line these up. And then this goes on this side like this. It goes on this side like this. So this is supposed to attach here like this. See? And it pretty much does. It pretty much goes where it should go. But there's a but here. The but is that if it attaches like this and I put it all together, several things could go wrong. One is this could be not at a 90-degree angle. Okay, this whole thing could be what could happen is that it could be twisted. I'll just call it that. That's not exactly a technical term. This doesn't look good. I have to look at this through the head magnifier. For some reason, this thing I think that's a dial. But this part, well, it's just bland from the outside, I guess. I that's oh, that's a handle. Got it. Okay, I couldn't see it from the direction I was looking at. Okay, so yeah, so this goes here, and this goes in the back, like that, one way or the other. Is it ambidextrous? Same in both directions. Um, so one is that it could be twisted, in which case when I insert it in here, like the front might be fine, but the back might be off to the side one way or the other, and that wouldn't be good. The other thing that could happen is that it might not be exactly the right length. That is, these things, there could be a 64th of an inch, off if they weren't, if these aren't exactly the right length compared to the attachment points on the model. And in that case, it in that case it wouldn't fit either. And so what's important is that it not twist and it be the right length. And the way I'm going to attempt to accomplish that is by constructing it in on site. Okay, putting the front and the back in first, and then attaching the sides. Because if the front and the back are in, then the sides will have to be straight, and the distance, would be correct as well. Yeah, that's what I'm going to try to do. So this piece goes here. This notch there that goes there. And then this piece goes up here somewhere. There it is, I think. Up against the fuel tank like that, or close to it. So good to test fit these things because this doesn't. It's not clear where this is supposed to fit. To be honest, there's little notches on the sides. But it's not fitting. It's not fitting in the space. So I am being baffled by that. It's little triangular braces in the corner. So I'm thinking it has to go in front of that. But these, now's the time to find that out, isn't it? These are supposed to fit into the hull, and that wraps around the outside thing there. But it doesn't. It isn't fitting anywhere. sit there and I'm glad I'm doing this without cement on it because I'm not. Okay, those fit. So that can't go there. That can't go down. I don't know where this is supposed to fit. Put this in here. This is going to be an adventure here today. So I know this goes here because there is a notch for it. This is something, isn't it? This goes. Oh man. Okay, I just broke the yoke. This actually goes here. It goes right at the front of this, like this. Because the cage needs to attach to it. It's supposed to go here. Yeah. Well, I'm glad I'm test fitting this because I wouldn't know what I was doing. That's really tight. There's not much room in there at all. Nothing is attached. Jeez. Okay, well that wasn't good. White spot here for some that isn't just dust. Okay. This I don't know what's going to happen today, but it's not good. Whatever is not happening well. I need to attach the seat again. But first, I need to touch up that tiny little spot. Yeah, you probably can't even see, but here, it's under the seat. Okay, but there's a little white spot there that is not dust. It's not coming off. And I don't know. I mean, if you looked at this and manipulated it, you probably could tell that it's there. Okay. Well, what I discovered there is that even though there was a large amount of it, this stuff doesn't really work that well. It doesn't grab. So I'm going to use this contact cement again that I did before for that. Even a little dot of it. I was using contact cement of a different brand, but it was really gel-like, very viscous. This is less so. Liquid, so it's easier to apply small areas. And hopefully I really like this stuff. It grabs quickly. So when I'm dealing with little parts like this that I want them to stick to each other, but I also sometimes want to be able to move it around a little bit. And this allows that to happen. So Porco sits in this chair. Yeah. Feet there. Chair. Maybe this is good. I should. But that's off now. Sits in this chair, and apparently the chair has to lean back. Let's make sure this still fits. Feet go on the rudder pedals. His Porco Rosso butt sits in the chair. This goes behind it, and that goes between his legs. I'm going to be spending most of the day, it looks like, reattaching parts that have fallen off. It looks like he's leaning back, so the chair needs to lean back like that. Great. This is off too now. This is going like really not that well. I have to make sure it's oriented correctly. The roundy part. Okay, the roundy part goes toward the front of the plane. Just keep using this, I guess. It seems to be working so far. Whatever was on there before didn't work. Get this on with my finger if I have to use a tweezers. Great. I am not left-handed. I cannot see where this is going. Well, what else is going to come apart? Which is okay right now. It needs to. Um, One option is to not put the Porco Rosso figure in, but his plane, he should be flying it. Right. I'm trying to find out where the contact points are. Because I'm going to just put a little bit of rubber cement on it so that I can potentially clean it up later. You know, rubber cement you can rub it off. So it's reparable. They recommend doing this on both surfaces, but I don't think I can do that here. I think I need to put it sighing already. I'm just going to put it on like his butt and his shoulders, and hope that it sticks to something on the seat. I put a little bit on the seat, but I'm not sure where it's going to touch. So we'll see. If it sticks, that's good. If it doesn't stick, well, then I can try something else. Down the rudder pedals. Nothing is adhering here. There's a little spot down there. It's touching it. Having deja vu. I haven't done this before. I don't know why. Not sticking. It's just right where it should be. Maybe it's just going to stay like that. I'm not sure. Parts are in place, but Porco is not sticking to the seat. Despite my best efforts to attach him with some rubber cement. Making contact. Eventually that will just stick. I mean, I think it just will. So I'm not going to torment him any more than I have. I'm going to declare that in place. What's this here? It's always good when I see something like that and it turns out just to be dust. Okay. Just that so it can be seen. This is what happened. Okay. What happened is the chair fell off, and so I had to replace that. And then the control yoke fell off, so I had to replace that. And then I got Porco in here, and I got some rubber cement on him in various places, but he's not really sticking. So there's a spot on his scarf that I really don't know. It's just, well, it's just the way the plastic is. It's just a little protuberance there that would look better if it were sanded off, but can't do that. So to put the cage on, all these little pieces, these 4 pieces that barely touch each other, that need to be put in and then held in place, and just it's interesting. Like I said, I could build it and then try to put it in place, but that's not going to work. It just isn't. So, try to build it in place. This one goes in first. Maybe it's just as well that the seat fell off because it might have to rock back and forth a little bit. A pretty tight fit. I'm going to do the contact cement bit. Just really one spot where it can be attached. So I'm going to attach it to that spot. And then I'm going to this goes up here somewhere. And it looks like it has a little bit of leeway in terms of where, but it's mostly there. But I think it's pretty much held in place by the sides rather than the base. But it looks like it's designed to go in front of these little triangles that are here on the floor. Kind of the spot where it's supposed to be. It has to be. Whoever designed this is just diabolical. That's how it's supposed to fit. This actually tilts forward a little bit. But it has to, I mean, that's how those pieces go together. And then there's one on the other side. So the instrument panel tilts, like it tilting forward, but those are the distances, you know. I'm just trying to get this. That's how it fits. So you can see how it fits, it looks pretty good when it's put together. Getting it to be together, well, that's another story, isn't it? All right. Well, nothing else broke. So Porco's just going to be trapped inside the cage. I'm not going to try to cement him in anymore. Finish. I mean, I have to just get this done, right? I mean, at some point, it just needs to be done. Um, and this contact cement sit before. This can sit for 15 minutes. But no. Okay, so I can actually put the cement on the contact points before I start putting them in place, and it actually should stick, which is good because it's a lot easier at this point. I mean, it's easier for me to get tiny little bits of contact cement on these spots now doing this than when it's in there like that. Camera, yeah. So here I am being off camera. Sorry about that. The pin would work now. I have to just move the camera because I need to brace it here. So I put tiniest little bits of contact cement on what should be the contact points. It's just like the old days with tube cement, little filaments. This will either work or it won't, right? Putting my money on maybe it'll work. To be totally silent, I can't. I'm just not sure how this is going to go. And I don't really want to be doing a lot of painting touch up, but I also don't want it just to like be falling apart. One thing we would like to have some adhesive, and I think I'll try to do that. The front, the instrument panel that goes there needs to stick to the floor. It doesn't have any really good like these contact points are pretty obvious. And it just I'm actually just going to put it on the bottom and hope that there's just it doesn't need to like grab and stay holding. It just needs to like not move around. Okay. Um, well, I've got 2 hours. It says 2 hours before it's not going to work anymore. So, yay. It's to go up onto the instrument panel here. And it's just not. There we go. See what happens on the other side, hmm? What can go wrong? Everything. Mhm. It's going mostly okay. It was mostly going okay until it's not going okay. So the thing that's not working is that um, they're not they're not attached to the instrument panel quite the way they should be. I mean, it looks okay. Pretty much looks okay. There's a touch up spot there that needs to be touched up, but it just isn't like one side is a. This is why building it on site was really a good idea because um, this spot right there doesn't go forward far enough. But on this side, they're nice and clean. These contact points are really worked out well. There's a white spot there that I just need to touch up with the wash. Porco is pretty well ensconced. He's not going anywhere. And this cage is, if you don't pull it up, okay, if you don't yank on it, it's going to be okay. It would be nice if this here were just a little tighter. Just if it had a little more contact cement on it, it would grab. But I don't think I can get any in there. Okay, I'm going to fine pointed thing here. finger there, and that's all it took. What's going to happen there is I'm going to let that set for a few minutes and then push it into place. This needs to close that gap a tiny bit. Go isn't, he was fitting, but now he's not. Came out, which means that at least in theory, he can go back in. This cage is now pretty good. Thing together, the pieces are all in place. Great. It detaches up in front, but and poor Porco is now extruded here. And he doesn't fit because of these protuberances. If they weren't there, he would sit in his seat, but they are, and he doesn't. Wonder what I can do, if anything, about that. What I really need to do is take them off. He sits up above them like that. That works, but then he doesn't have his feet on the rudder pedals. So I need to let this set, okay? Because the cage is now, it fits together really pretty well. Isn't going to move anywhere. It's mostly attached. That and that and that. So it comes right down to what we do with Porco. And Porco Rosso and the machine guns and all of this up here is also moving around, right? So Porco Rosso will fit in here mostly. But these protuberances here are keeping him from sitting. And when I look, oh, damn it. Yeah, I didn't know that ahead of time. They're molded on there, right? I mean, those aren't extraneous, but when I look at here, they're off. And so I need to remove them. Now that this is all put together, it is going to be difficult, but I need to take them off so that it's smooth across the top. And that's just going to be, it's going to be messy because I need to like cut them off. Oh man, maybe, just, yeah, I wish I'd known that before it got this far, right? Well, it just has to be done. And I'm going to get plastic dust all over everything. Maybe, actually, if I let this set, I can take it off. And maybe I can get those off without, over to the side so I don't get plastic dust on everything. This isn't, not really attached. Okay. I mean, it was nice that it was held in place, but it will come off sometime in the future, and then I'll take those off so Porco will fit. Sometimes those things just happen. It's like it obviously was built, I didn't take them off because it looked like they were supposed to be there, but they're not here. They're not here on the instructions at all. It just stops right there. So whatever those were, and it's not there either. Why are they there? Okay, that isn't where they were attached to the sprue or anything. So those little pointy things that stick up on either side are not in any of the pictures. And I missed that when I was building this and painting it, and I just didn't notice. So this cage, once it's set, which will be Monday, right? It's nicely done, isn't attached. I will have to remove those. Good luck to me. Okay, so there was a moment of, wow, this actually came together. It looks pretty good, followed by Porco doesn't fit, what the heck, followed by pieces, just something that shouldn't be there that is. That, yeah, and that's the way it is sometimes with these models, is that it looks like it should be what it isn't. Well, let's just cover that up and pretend that it's not my problem du jour and go back to the engine. I cleaned up the seams on the top. You'll see it, but I don't feel it. I'll find out after it's primed. But then there's seams here and on the top and along there. I'm not too worried about the bottom because the bottom is not going to be visible, but I will sand that down. So I'm going to be doing some sanding on this and then some paint testing. This stuff, this just has to set. I mean, the cage has to, the contact cement needs to cure. Between now and Monday, and then on Monday I will take it off and remove those little bits of plastic and do some paint touch up. And I will be doing that with incredible care. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that just... Yeah, it's pretty clear. There's like 1, 2, 3 illustrations, none of which show those little protuberances. But they were just so clearly molded into it that I didn't think of it. but they are very much in the way. Okay, so there's that. There's displaced Porco. This, and I'm going to avoid being tempted to mess with this any further, and I'm just going to put it out of the way and then work on this and these little bits, do some test fitting, because that how this all goes together is also not amazingly clear, especially these little black things, which I think that's supposed to be where the shaft of the propeller goes in, so it turns. Otherwise, it's like a bearing that goes inside of the cone here. The propeller attaches to that. This is another one of those things where it's all going to be, put together, and then at the end, great. At the very, very end, the propeller goes on and it's not going to fit, and everything else will be done already. What can you say? But yeah, there's this, and then depending on how the time goes, just a little more than an hour, and managed to accomplish some things that I wasn't sure were going to work, but did end up working. But then a thing that was totally unexpected means that I've got a whole bunch of rework to do. Okay, I'm going to just do some sanding, some filing, a little bit of filing and some sanding here with this sandpaper that I dropped all over the floor. But at least this contact cement works pretty well. It's liquid enough that I can apply it to tiny little spots with the tip of a toothpick. Sorry, I dropped something. What a surprise, right? The thing I dropped was the thing I need, which is my little sandpaper bits. Yeah. One thing I'm kind of unhappy about is that right here at the top of the engine block, the two halves come together and there's this indentation. And it's just the way the plastic was molded. And I'm not sure, it shouldn't be there. There isn't a seam in the motor, so I'm not sure what to do about that. I'm going to I'm going to sand it a little bit, just a little bit with some fine, very fine grained. And I want to see if maybe the cement filled it in or whether it's still really obviously there. Sometimes the cement will fill those in, but it's clear, so it can't be seen. So maybe like it has. The cement does is it just fills the gap. It can welds it together. Well, much less visible. I can't even get a fingernail in there to test it. I will use a tool. This is the day. I wanted to get this wire here, but it got wrapped around the file. No, it's there. It's a pretty, I can feel it with this. I couldn't get my fingernail in there, but I can feel it with this. Pretty big insert. I think I'm going to use some filler on that. Even though this is going to be painted metallic. The other option is to, you can even see what I'm looking at. These two halves came together, and right at the top here, where it's going to be fairly visible, there's the plastic isn't even. There's a divot forming a channel right here. And I was kind of hoping that if I put excess cement on there, it would dissolve the plastic and kind of ooze up and fill it, but it's not. So it's still there. And I'm pretty sure that that was not a feature of the engine. This is supposed to be a very solid piece. And it goes all the way back to here. And I need to fill it in and then sand it down. There isn't very much of it, but the fillers I have are not. No, this might be a time to experiment. Watch some new stuff. Dissolved putty. I have dissolved putty, and I haven't used dissolved putty yet. So I'm going to. The way I'm going to test this is get some of the sprue. All the parts are off of that. This one still has some parts on it. These are bits, the propeller and the propeller spinner and the plate that holds it on. And then these are the manifolds, the exhausts for the engine. So I've experimented with different fillers. Okay, you can see that, what I'm dealing with here is teeny tiny. I had this plastic filler made by one of the paint companies, but it doesn't dry hard enough to sand. So that's no good. You need to fill it and sand it. And the sanding process stays sort of like hard rubber, but that doesn't sand. So I tried auto body putty, and auto body putty actually does dry hard enough to sand because it's designed for that. It's designed to be sanded when you fill in a little gap in, Bondo, the brand name, right? It's Bondo, and that does dry hard enough, but the solvent in it dissolved the plastic. And so I filled a spot, filled it nicely, and sanded it. But the right next to that spot, it dissolved the plastic. And so then I had a mar there. The thing that has been easiest to use is, of all things, spackle, used for patching holes in walls. That is very easy to use. It's very sandable, but it doesn't sand to the kind of surface, the polished surface that you get on the model. And so, but flat, it's a different texture. And so even though that's a really tiny, tiny spot there, it'll show when it's painted metallic. So I got this stuff, Mr. Dissolved Putty. It's Mr. From Mr. Hobby. It's Mr. Dissolved Putty. And I don't know what this does. I don't know how it's going to work. So I'm going to test it. And the way I'm going to test it, since I'm dealing with some small stuff anyway, is I've got the sprue, and the sprue has raised numbers on it. Okay. And what I want is to fill in the space around them. There are directions on how to use this, but they're all in Japanese. I know I'm supposed to shake it because it had separated. I'll even use my mixer stuff. So I don't know what's going to happen with this. Well, I actually don't. I don't know if it's going to. What I do know is that as I'm using the vibrator thing here and stirring it, things are falling apart. Very liquid. Isn't really clear how it's supposed to be applied either. So I'm going to. I need a flat toothpick. Toothpick thing. I'm going to make a little spatula out of a toothpick. That's got a rounded end on it. I want it flat, so I take some sandpaper and here, you can watch me sand the end of the toothpick. Got a spatula. I don't know. I hope this doesn't say. Well, it is flammable. That's not surprising. I hope this doesn't say if you take one whiff of this, you're going to be sick for the rest of your life. I hope it doesn't say that. Oh wait, they're in English instructions. Precautions: keep out of reach of children. Use in a well-ventilated area. Away from direct sunshine. Not going to be open very long. Fills the area pretty well. I wonder, the real test is whether it dries hard enough to sand. I won't know that until Monday. There's definitely chemicals in there, though. Whoa. So if this dries hard enough to sand, I'm going to use it on that. If it doesn't, then I'll just have to use spackling compound and live with the consequences of a tiny, tiny little spot up there being sort of visible. You know, that there'll be a little bit of a line, just that line right there, that might have a different surface texture than the rest of it. I don't see any other way around it. These sides, these are going to be covered with something. The back of this here, instructions just aren't really very clear. This nose cone, okay, this nose cone goes on one end of this. No, it's not that. It doesn't fit there, right? So it's got to be here. Oh, and it fits. It fits nicely. Huh? It's pretty good. What I'm not sure about is whether that's supposed to be okay. If it's a separate part, this is this, and then this is attached to it, then a little bit of a seam is appropriate. If it's supposed to be an extension, so this is all one solid piece of metal, then it's not. But to me, it looks like it's supposed to be an attached piece, so it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't need to add it and then fill the seam and sand it. The little bit of a seam on there is what it's supposed to look like. Even okay, that's not bad. It's set up so that it can only go on one way, preventing a question is, do I paint this whole thing and then paint this piece and then attach it? Or do I attach it before I paint it? Sure. It's just okay. It's not perfect because what's happening here is that you can see it. See, if you look at the bottom, the gap is really nice and even, the seam. And if you look at the top, it's not nice and even. There's a gap, bigger gap there than it is on this side. And part of that was because there was a flaw in the plastic here. And yeah, there. So I'm going to sand this thing down and see if I can fix that. This is me trying to do A work on this model, A level work by doing little stuff like this. It's the problem on this end. No, maybe the problem is on the other side. Looking at this and thinking, maybe the problem is right there. If I turn this over, it won't fit perfectly. Why it matters which way it goes, but it does. It only goes on this way. Bothered by the smallest things here. Yeah, there's that. This it's where the seam is, and I think that is keeping it from setting just right. This is definitely a use of time, isn't it? Well, I just, this is maybe being excessive, but because the cage didn't work because of parts on it that shouldn't have been there that are, that a manufacturer's error there for sure. Um, because of that, the I managed to assemble the cage. That was a great success. That was a surprise. It worked. I got it to put together, but the parts don't fit perfectly because, um, Porco can't sit in there because there was a, a major flaw in the okay. As I'm messing with this, I'm deciding I am going to attach this before I prime it and paint it, mainly because of that discontinuity there. And I want to see what happens when the cement fills it in. And since I have to fill in a little gap back here, I might end up having to fill it in up in front as well. It isn't going to matter too much in terms of painting. The part here is painted silver, and it matches the no, it's the same color. It continues along here, and yeah, I'm going to do that so that I can mess with the seam after it's put together to see what it looks like. Whether anything needs to be done with it. I'm going to do some cementing on this a little bit after I clean up the seams that show. Bad about that cage. It's going to be quite a challenge fixing it because it's very fragile. I suppose if it comes apart, the worst thing that can happen is I have to redo it. Just as soon not have to redo it. Yeah, I'm just being quiet. I'm just thinking. I'm thinking to myself about removing those bits of plastic from the cage, and I don't know how it's going to go until I work on it on Monday. I will be streaming Monday. That's my plan, but will not be streaming. There's a chance I won't. Okay, and I won't know that until it's too late, and that's depending on whether we travel for the New Year holiday or not. New Year's Day is Wednesday, so if we're going to travel, we'd be traveling on Sunday or Monday, in which case there wouldn't be a stream. There will definitely not be a stream on Wednesday because that is New Year's Day, and everybody's going to be watching football and recovering from drinking too much bubbly wine or something the night before, staying up way too late. So people probably won't even be up by 10 o'clock Eastern time, unless you're in Europe, in which case it's going to be in the afternoon or evening, and then you will be up probably. I need to test fit this. Still goes on. Whatever this is, it goes there. Okay. Whatever that is fits there. And this is a part that I am definitely going to assemble later. And then this bit, whatever this is, goes here. I'm going to, it's all supposed to be painted silver. Probably going to want to use a couple of different shades on this. I think I'm going to paint these before I assemble them. This looks like one of those things where I should be able to assemble it without getting cement all over the place. On the other hand, there isn't a place to hold it while it's being painted. If I assembled them, these little round bits on the end are painted black. And so I could actually put a little alligator clip on that and hold it while I paint the rest of this. This is one of those things where it's not clear. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little bit of a plastic bit sticking out there. I think those need to come off. It just isn't right. Okay, so I've got this gap that definitely needs to be filled. And this off just a bit. And then I debated when I first took this off whether those were supposed to be there or not. And I thought, well, maybe they are, but they're not symmetric. Two sides. And the picture doesn't show them, so I'm gonna take them off. Sanding this down because it does show a little bit. This is attached. Wait. Yeah. See, I don't know if you can see it, but I can feel it. Where the two halves came together here, they're not quite lined up. Hi, Holly. Hi there. Did you have a good holiday? We had a pretty nice Christmas. Small family group, had way too much good food, drank eggnog. It was really nice. Oh, thanks for the resub. I'm just piecing together bits of what is going to be the engine. And I had a real challenge before. Let me show it. Let me show it to everybody so that they can commiserate with me. Let me put these parts away so I don't lose them. So I was able. Oh, thank you for the new sub. Oh, that's great. Thanks so much. I appreciate the referral. So this is almost done. And the part that I was working on, if you remember, there are all these little bits and pieces to this cage that goes here. And I painted the Porco Rosso figure. Nikki said it looks cartoonish, but Porco Rosso was a cartoon. And so there it is, the cartoonish Porco Rosso. And the Porco Rosso fits in the seat, sort of. But what I discovered was, if you look at this, see this bit of plastic that's up there? This goes across, and then this bar goes ahead. Well, that looks like it's molded in, like it should be there. It's on both sides. But it keeps the Porco Rosso figure from sitting in the seat. And then I looked at the instructions, and none of the illustrations, okay, smooth on the top, smooth on the top, smooth on the top, smooth on the top, none of them show that thing sticking up. And so when it would have been really easy to, hi, Enforcer, thanks for popping in. When it would have been really easy to take that off when the pieces were not assembled, okay, I didn't. And so now, in order to make this thing work, fortunately, this comes off. This cage can come off. It's not attached to the hull, at least not very much. I'm going to have to sand and file those off, get a nice smooth surface across the top, touch up the paint, and then Porco Rosso will fit. So it was, this actually worked. I actually got these pieces together. They sit there. They're not, they are what they're supposed to be. It was a great celebration until it was, why is Porco not sitting in a seat? Why does he keep getting pushed away? And it's like, these are in the way. And like I said, if I had maybe paid attention to the instructions and said that shouldn't be there, even though it's molded in, I would have taken them off at that point in time. But I didn't, and they're not. And so sometime on Monday, I'm not sure if I'm going to stream on Monday, but if I do stream on Monday, then oh, thanks. Oh, that's really nice. I really appreciate that, gifting a sub. What can I say? You're really kind. And I hope you had an amazing holiday. And I don't know if you celebrate the new year or not, but I hope that goes well for you too. Anyway, it was a moment of success and failure all at the same time, where the cage came together. It fits really well. The parts they set where they should. The new contact cement I bought works really well. And then I saw that, and it's, now I have to do some really delicate sanding and filing and sanding to make that work. And at some point, I probably need to fix this machine gun thing, because it's pretty loose. This one is holding, but this one's just not. But the new contact cement I got works really better than anything else I have. So, yeah, and then you can see there's cement on the seat because those are the spots where Porco Rosso was supposed to sit. Now I definitely need to put him in the plane because I can't clean that off, or maybe I can. I also had all sorts of parts come off that had been attached that stopped being attached. Anyway, this is looking pretty decent. I think it looks pretty good. I got the detail down. The washing looks decent. It's just that those little prongs need to come off so that I can get the Porco figure in there. But that has to wait till next week. Oh, you're hosting the New Year's party. That's brave. I have to say that that's just a very brave thing to do. Um, I'm not sure what we're going to be doing for New Year yet. That's why I was saying I don't know what the stream is going to be like next week. I definitely will not be streaming on New Year's Day because, as I was saying, people will either be being up late or they'll be watching. Well, here in the U.S., they'll be watching football. That's a thing you do on New Year's Day. American football, that will be done. What is going on here? Feeling it's just like a little bit of a thing there. Well, that's exciting. What? No, they're not. No, you're not going to be doing jury duty on New Year's. No, the courts are not going to. That's a holiday. Maybe the day after New Year. But you got a jury duty notice, enforcer? Oh, brother. Are you going to get drunk on sparkling wine? Glog? Really? The day before New Year's Eve? Well, if you're really lucky, I don't know how it works where you live, but here, what happens? Because this happened to me. I tell my story of jury duty. Is why not? It's actually kind of an interesting story. So I get summoned to jury duty, and our company, according to the rule I made up, gives you time off for jury duty, paid time off, as long as you return to the company the stipend that you receive. And since the stipend was something like $20 a day, I opted to take paid time rather than, and then I turned the $20 for the 4 days I spent, back to the company. I guess that was a fair trade. So there were about 100 of us in this room, and the first day they just sent us all home because no new trials were being scheduled. There was a delay in the court, and so I had to show up the next day. Yeah. See, that's it. They're waiting to see if the judges schedule something that requires a jury. So I thought I was out of it, but the next day I went, and they pick like 3 times more than you need for a jury. Did we have a full jury? No, it was only 8 of us. I think it wasn't the 12. It was I don't remember. Anyway, they picked a whole lot of us, and I got picked at that point, and they parade us into the courtroom, and we get to sit in actually fairly comfy chairs. And then the 2 attorneys ask all sorts of questions, the prosecutor and the defense. And yeah, that's what they do. Is they don't tell you don't know until sometimes that morning even. So they ask all sorts of questions about what do you do, and do you have what kind of evidence would you believe? Do you think circumstantial evidence is good or not? That's a tough question because, when you watch TV, everybody goes, oh, evidence is just circumstantial, as though it doesn't count. But that's not how it really works. There could be very convincing circumstantial evidence, if you don't have like an eyewitness. So that was one of the questions. And for some reason, I wasn't excluded, so I got to sit on a jury. It was yeah. I don't know why you would want to get out of it. If you had something else you needed to be doing, but it's actually kind of interesting to be on a jury. So I hope, well, I mean, you're not going to go to a trial on New Year's Day or probably New Year's Eve, but you might be selected for something that would start right after the holiday. But it was kind of interesting. I actually got selected to be on the jury, and I don't know why I was excluded, because there were people who were, I think maybe the defense had just run out of challenges, or everybody was tired, and they, oh, I excuse jurors. That makes me feel like I'm doing something, right? And then at some point you say, well, I still need a jury, so maybe I shouldn't keep excusing them. Well, yeah. I mean, if you suddenly became employed between now and then you definitely, especially when you're just starting a new job, that's probably not the time when you want to say, oh, by the way, I have to be gone. So I got in this jury, I'll make a long story long. And it turned out it was pretty much a purse snatching, but because the woman whose purse was snatched was also knocked to the ground, the charges were made up to assault. Okay, so we were looking at a felony here. So the guy who we got, the accused, well, it was kind of a sordid story. Yeah, I think if you have the opportunity to be on a jury, it's a civic duty. It's a thing. It's really an essential thing. And so if you have the opportunity to do it, and sometimes the trials are just boring as all get out. Yeah, I mean, 24 hours. I don't know quite what the rules are here, but we're not that quick about it. I got to be on this jury for this purse snatching that evolved into assault because he had knocked the woman down. And it turned out that he hooked up with a hooker, and they used whatever money there was in the purse to buy cocaine. So they spent the entire evening getting high on cocaine, and then they and this is something I didn't know about. It was kind of fascinating. So when they ran out of cocaine, they bought like a quart of beer, just a big beer thing, to sober up. And I never heard about somebody drinking like a quart of beer to sober up before. But I learned that apparently when you're coming down from a crack cocaine high, that's something you do. So I learned that. The cautionary part of this, though, I mean, he turned out to be as guilty as all, because there was no explanation. He did take the witness stand on it on his own behalf, but made up this incredible story about Sherman, somebody named Sherman, just giving him the wallet that was stolen, but he didn't steal it. But the thing is, here's the bottom line, though. So this guy turned out to be like a 3-time felon, and he was working with a traveling carnival. And the way they described the living conditions, it was really, really miserable. But he ran the bumblebee ride. The street man did on your end. Okay. It's still running on my end. At least it says that it is. Yeah. So this guy, who was a 3-time felon and had just spent the entire evening on a crack cocaine high, and getting sober by drinking lots of beer, ran the bumblebee ride in the traveling circus. Okay, you can redo that. Sometimes restarting it works. So the trial was kind of interesting. We had a 12 Angry Men kind of situation in the jury room where four of the 12 people, I think we did have 12, voted not guilty. And then we deliberated long enough to get a free lunch. So that was good. So we got a free lunch, and then after lunch, we all decided he was guilty. But there's that. So, okay. Well, that's interesting. So the city court, which is what most of our stuff would be, the equivalent of that, our court system, there's local courts that are set up at the county level, and then there's state level courts, and there's 3 levels of state courts, and you can appeal to the state court, and then there's 3 levels of federal courts that can go all the way up to the national Supreme Court. But it's the opposite of what you have. Okay, in that our appeals court and Supreme Courts do not have juries, but only judges. There's a panel of judges. I think in appeals courts it's like 3 to 5 or something like that, and in the Supreme Court, depending on the state and the federal, it's 7 to 9. And so the juries sit at the lowest level, or the lower levels of trials, and the appeals and the Supreme Court levels, the equivalent of your national and Supreme Court, are judges only. So it's interesting that the Supreme Court would actually have a jury. That would be interesting here to have something like that happen. I wonder what it would be like. But that's kind of fascinating. Why am I looking for something that I can't find here? Put that there. I want to clean this up. Oh, this is nice. So this contact cement is kind of like rubber cement in that. I don't know if you can see that, but some of the dripped on the top here, and I just wanted to see what happened. It is possible to just clean it off like that, which means that just like with the other contact cement, if I get it too much onto a model, if I get to it soon enough, I can peel it off without hurting, hopefully, what's underneath it. So in Denmark, it's just the opposite. Yep, I will. I might be here on Monday. It depends on if we travel for the New Year or not. I will not be here Wednesday, but I will definitely be back on Friday. No photos of the Supreme Court. So have a good holiday. Enjoy drinking whatever it is you're going to do on New Year's Eve, and I hope that on New Year's Day your recovery is swift and relatively painless. There. Oh, that's where this went. I'm just losing things. Are you going to play tonight? You going to play Cole? Cool. So you're starting out. Are you starting out kind of like at level 0 in your game? I mean, everybody's starting out with really fresh new characters. Oh man, I almost made a huge mistake. Wow. Okay, so I made one inadvertent error today by Jolie. Okay. I made one inadvertent error today by not taking off the protuberance in the cage that shows up in none of the pictures, but looked like it was meant to be there. I was going to cement on the. Remember, I talked about that. I was going to cement this on before I primed it. But that would have been really a blunder, a major blunder, because this little bushing, this thing, whatever that is supposed to go in there. And it's here. I've got 2 of them. And I need to test fit them and see what's up. Okay, so it's a hard C, Cole. Yeah, I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly, Cole. Is that right? Yeah, I'm getting myself lost here. I need to prime those bits. Looking for my little saw. Okay, Chole. Okay, got it. Chole. Okay, so that's right. You were just like imprisoned, right? I don't understand this. What this? Why this is using this black? You know that the instructions are in Japanese, and maybe I'll use Google Translate and see to find out what that says. This is okay. It's 2 of them, or I don't know why. There's only one that's being used. It must just be an extra part. But this is also the kind of thing where I'm working on this. It's black, and if I drop it, it's going to get lost. I need to do this over a box. This is a really big box, a way oversized box. But if I drop this little bit, if I drop this, I am doomed because there's no way I'm going to find it. I've got to. Oh, there's no A at. Oh, Chol. Thank you. So it's Chol. Um, yeah, I'm not sure how this is supposed to work. I know that there's just a lot of excess plastic on it that is in the way and is probably going to cause a problem if I don't get rid of it. But this is a mystery piece. It's a totally different kind of plastic than everything else. And it goes inside of another piece. There, see, dropped it. Thanks for helping with the pronunciation of your name. Not your name, your character's name. So this is going to be your first session with your friends? You haven't played in a long time, but this is the first session of the game that you're starting. It sounds pretty cool. I know you've been waiting for this for a long time, and you finally get to play again. I hope it's a lot of fun and that the players all get along really well. Hopefully your DM is also going to be creative and not mean. Okay, so you did play once, but that was just pretty much just introducing yourselves and your characters. Sorry, I'm just being quiet here as I'm looking at black against gray and trying to get this piece. Sorry, this has been a real sighing kind of day. No, you did talk about her. I was just trying to get the name pronounced right. You talked about her and her family last week. Hey, was it? Yeah, you weren't on Monday, but I think it was on Friday. I'm trying to see how this piece is supposed to fit. This doesn't fit. I am totally baffled by this. Sorry, I have no idea how this is supposed to go together. This fits on like that. If I remember, so I think if I remember, you were imprisoned, and what you're trying to regain your powers or find out what they are. So you're starting out like with nothing, just learning about yourself and what you can do. Joel. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's what you're starting with. Those are pretty good powers. Invisibility is really good if you're sneaking around. Um, Sonic Scream, which is like in World of Warcraft, Psychic Scream. I always thought that was kind of a silly thing, but it turns out to be really useful. This doesn't go anywhere. Somehow supposed to fit inside of this. Oh, huh! It did. It just slipped right in. I have no clue what I did or how, but it didn't, and now it did. So I can attach this now because whatever that is or why it's there is where it's supposed to be. I'm gonna have to put my glasses on to read the screen. My eyesight is just. Oh, she can heal too. That's really good. So you can be a healer. I think you talked about that you wanted to play a character that was a healer. So Cole, Cole, sorry, I just am not having an easy time talking today. Um, they got an injection that awakened their powers, but your powers were just there. Yeah, cola. Um, Kaol, two syllables, Kaol. So that, oh yeah, of course the NPCs will be very confused because you got powers without the injection. That's pretty cool. So are you still imprisoned when you play tomorrow? Are you still in prison? Trying to decide what cement to use on this. I guess I'll use this. Little pinpoint applicator applicates more than just a pinpoint. Cool. That for a few seconds while it. What is this? What is this and why is it there? I don't know. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you have to test things, but then you find out. Well, then you don't have to learn the lesson the hard way. At least there's that, I guess. But still, that's pretty mean. So you're in prison with basically punishment collars. That's an interesting way to start a campaign. It actually really is about whether you're going to be able to break out of prison or not. Okay, so this is ready to prime. Um, I'm going to, since I don't want to get paint on the inside of that now that I did it. did this. I don't know if I'm not thinking ahead or what. I don't know where this little bit of plastic came from. I find it very disturbing that there is now this little bit of plastic. Oh, yeah, now I remember. It's not an issue. It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to just put a toothpick in the hole. And on that basis, keep it from being painted on the inside. Oh, now I remember. There was something else I was going to do. There they are. Oh, that was silly. Oh, so somebody badly misbehaved right off the bat, and their character got basically executed. I have to come back with a backup character. You know, if you need to bring up a backup character, the best time to do that is right at the very beginning. Yeah, you wouldn't want to get up to like level 18 or something and then be deleted. It's pretty good though that the DM, it's exactly right, is not holding back their punches. Yeah. So I guess, if you're wearing a pain collar, you better behave. Otherwise, you could be pained into oblivion. Okay, this needs to be primed. And so do these other little bits. But what I had talked about doing, and I need to do this yet, since I've got time, is that there's little appendages, little bits of plastic sticking out the ends here. That I believe should not be there. They just don't make. Well, your DM should make the game interesting, but not necessarily fatal for minor transgressions. But it'll be interesting to see how they play it out. Can't see close up. I can't see far away. I do have an eye appointment coming up, which is good. And then I am probably going to get different glasses for different distances. I really dislike doing that. But otherwise, I have trifocals and I can't focus anywhere. Oh, yeah. I mean, at some point, you're going to either have to have a prison break, right? Where you get out of the prison and somehow or other get rid of those collars, or else you're going to just spending, the entire game obeying orders, and that won't be very interesting. So I really don't think the DM will keep that going for very long. Yeah, I mean that's the first puzzle is not only escaping but getting the collars off. Maybe in the opposite order. Maybe you get them off and pretend that they're still on, so as not to arouse suspicion, but then you can get out. our DM did that to our party in our Dungeons and Dragons show. Is we were imprisoned and basically mind controlled for a while, given all sorts of false memories and events that were not really happening. And it took us a while to even figure out what was happening because the DM was describing these things that didn't make any sense. But eventually we succeeded, so that's probably what you need to do. We had mentioned that she was a barista, and that makes sense with her name too. Art is just so tiny; it's just a pain. I want the 800. There it is. Prison is prison AI. That might be a form of manipulation. Be very careful. There, this looks better without those little protuberances, but I need to clean the ends. Make them smooth. So, as I was saying at the beginning of this, I do not know. Well, yeah. I mean, it's not selfish. It's if you're not safe, if you're not alive, you can't do anything either for yourself or even for anybody else. So it's not being terribly selfish because keeping your players safe is the way that you can assist the other players. But yeah, I mean, you don't want to do anything. You don't want to get banned, and you know, you don't want to be killed off by the prison before you even get going. So I'd say that's just fine. And hopefully the other players will also be cautious and work very carefully together until you're able to make your escape. So I'm doing this little bit of sanding. I can actually talk and do something at the same time, which is not always possible. I want to talk about our Dungeons and Dragons show. Dice and Dungeons runs a Dungeons and Dragons show. We've been going on for over a year, and we stream with a live chat on Twitch on most Sundays a month at 2:00 Eastern time, Eastern U.S. time. And I want to encourage everybody to watch that. If you can't catch it with the live chat on Twitch, all of the other episodes, all of our past episodes are on YouTube, and they're also available as a podcast. So you can just listen to them, which is really cool. And I have to say that we do a really good job. Our DM is immensely talented, and as players, we really get into our characters. We become our characters as we're playing. So it is a show. Okay, it's not just watching somebody play the game. It is a D&D show, and I think you would enjoy it. So check a couple of them out on YouTube or on a podcast and see if you like it. And becoming a follower on Twitch or a subscriber on YouTube is very much appreciated. We want our audience to grow. We want people to enjoy it along with us. I don't know why this is being so recalcitrant here. Just tiny little pieces of plastic. It should sand off and even off. Oh, there, that finally happened. You probably can't see it at all. I'm not even on camera. Sorry about that. Well, your DM is not kind. There has to be some way out. There has to be some way out of the prison. Otherwise, basically, you're going to have a prison show, life in prison, which probably won't be all that exciting or fun. But you're only in your second session, so you haven't had a chance to test the prison AI to see if it has any weaknesses or not. You're just starting to get to know each other as characters and what your powers are. It might take 4 or 5, who knows how many sessions before you escape. But when it happens, it's going to be quite a thing. It's going to be a great celebration. Well, yeah, escape during transport. That kind of makes sense. Well, here, no, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say that, while you're being transported, you're with different people in different places and you're moving, and that might be an opportunity to keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, as I've learned in game, is pay attention to everything. Keep your inventory full. Keep your characters alive. So it should be kind of interesting to see how this progresses. Get this from the top. I think it looks okay now. It looks better than it did when those little things were sticking out. Okay. Good. I still have some time left. What I need to do is this on top is painted glossy black. This bit's, and then it's different metallic colors underneath it. Okay. And one of the things I wanted to find out was if I painted the whole thing black, because I have good spray paint to do that. Thanks for joining in, and a Happy New Year to you if I don't see you next week. I'm not going to know until the weekend whether I'm going to be streaming on Monday or not. So what you might want to do is just check in to see if a stream is going on. And if there is a stream going on, then stick with it. And if there isn't, then it means that I'm traveling and not around. But I will be back next Friday for sure, if not on Monday. Okay, if that makes sense. Okay, so if I paint the entire thing black, if I paint this entire thing black in order to get good coverage on these bits here, which are hard to cover, okay, using the spray paint, I want to know if I then use a metallic paint, whether it's going to cover or not. So I spray painted this piece of cardboard black. I'm having real trouble with this today. And I'm going to test the 3 different shades of metallic that I'm going to be using for the rest of it. I'm just shaking them by hand because I'm just testing. I'm going to be using just little bits of the paint. This stuff spreads. Guess I'll go soon enough. There. Way more than I needed. I just made a mess. Okay, I need to unmess this. I need 2 coats to be even, but I've done that before, and usually the second or third coat it looks pretty good. But it's covering, and hopefully it's adhering. That's the part that needs to be tested here in a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I did make some progress today, but then I discovered a major problem in the process of making progress. So the next stream, I'm going to have to be doing a fair amount of rework on the cage around the cockpit of Porco Rosso's plane. Yeah, as long as this is adhering, putting multiple coats on is something I usually do anyway. That won't be too much of a problem. So I'll find out in the next stream whether this is adhering or not. You can see the difference in pigmentation. This is darker than that. And this should be somewhat darker than that as well. Okay. I just screwed that up. This has happened in the past. Opening that up, it splashes, and now I've got duraluminum paint all over my hands. Wait, all sorts of paint on there. It's weird. This one is not adhering like the others did. I mean, I can still use it, but well, there's all sorts of paint accumulated around the nozzle. It's going to take forever to get that out of my thumb. I don't know how it did it. It filled in under my thumb, and now I'm going to look like I've got a filthy black nail forever. Wow. Yeah. No, that was a thing to do at the end of the stream. Was that? Ta-da. I'm just trying to clean up a little bit here. I need to prime these, including these little bits here. And what I usually do and what I am going to do is I'm going to stick them onto a piece of cardboard using some folded over tape. Because they're really tiny, especially those, and when I spray them, they just go flying. But if I stick them onto something, then they don't go flying. So that's what I'm going to do, is do some sticking onto something using the tape that is right there but isn't anymore. Great. I really need to clean up here. How many times have I said that, huh? Every other stream. I really need to clean up here. This is a real mess. How can anybody work in conditions like this? Don't do this at home. Just don't let everything get out of control like this, and you can't get anything done. Watch me fold tape. What I found with this painter's tape is it sticks to stuff pretty well, but it doesn't stick to itself very well. Okay, I need to remember to plug this hole, to plug that hole so that I don't get paint into whatever that black thing was supposed to be. Okay, that is inside of that, some sort of bushing. I'm not too worried about this side because that just gets attached to a thing. I think if I set it, it's not going to get primed on the very, very bottom, but as long as I spray it from every angle, it should be okay. You know, these need to be primed eventually on both sides. Stick it on and then spray paint it and then flip it over. So these are ready for prime time. This is drying on here to see. Maybe I might even put a second coat on yet today. It seems to be working okay. I would really like to spray paint this entire thing black to make sure that it's covered nicely from all angles and everything, and then paint the metallic on it after that. Even though that's, oh man. Yeah, painting it underneath there. I could have, maybe I should have painted it before. Well, it is what it is. Okay. What is this stuff drying? This is the new filler that I was going to be trying out. See if I could stand it. It actually seems to be working pretty well. No, it's still gummy. I'm getting things backward here. There's a seam there that I need to fill. Before I paint it. Then I need to sand it before I paint it. I'm just not getting it right here. So I got this end, this is on. There's a gap there that's too big. I knew that was going to happen because it just wasn't fitting right. The new filler. Dang, if I don't know if I can use this until Monday. I know what I'm going to do. This isn't the best way to do this, but it's the way that's going to work. Is I'm going to use the spackle. The things that need to be filled in are really very small, and I'm hoping that the difference in surface texture isn't going to be really obvious. I need the toothpick I turned into a spatula. I wonder where it's gone. There it is. Thing onto which I can squeeze some of this. This stuff sands pretty well, so it's going to get into places where I don't want it. Okay, I mean, I know that that's going to happen, that it will be in places where I don't want it, but it sands off, so I can fix the problem later. It starts out pink and dries white. There's an upside to that, of course, in that you can see where it's going. Is in this little gap around here, and then the gap in the back. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, if it looks like I'm going to stream on Monday, well, actually, either way, I'm going to sand this off, sand this down, and prime it before the next stream. Whenever the next stream is going to be, this will be this filler will be sanded and it'll be primed. Easier to not have it on the tape. This thing in the back here. Filler. Oh, it's on camera. What a surprise. It's so small it doesn't go in. Okay, well, I'll clean that up when I sand it later. As I said, I'm going to, any sanding that needs to be done, I will do, and I'll prime these pieces before the next stream so that I can paint them. This dry. I'm going to put a second coat of paint on these because I want to see. It's not coming off, so that's good. And I have learned my lesson, and I will open the jars, the bottles, with paper towel over them, so I don't do this again. Yeah, I almost didn't do what I said I was going to do. There. So that looks much better with a second coat on. And if it needs a third, I have done that before, and I'm prepared to do it again. No, I'll do this, which is a nice low risk sort of thing to do at the end. And then I will recap what will be coming next. What will be coming next is I need to basically what I need to do is fix something I should have fixed like a month ago when I was first prepping the parts for the cage around the canopy. And I didn't. And now I'm paying the price by having to take the canopy off and do some filing and sanding. Filing and sanding on a part that I didn't think I would need to file and sand. And in the process, I might break the whole thing and have to start over. That would be sad. Okay. Yeah, the second coat looks better than the first. And I think that my plan to spray paint the entire engine, to make sure that I get the black part black is going to work. And then if I'm very careful in applying the metallics, if I'm just very careful doing that, it should turn out okay. If not, then I'll have to, as I've said before, I can just repaint it. The other thing, I just want to try this too. Chainmail silver and gunmetal. I'm going to try these also on here since I still have a couple of seconds left. Thanks everybody for joining in. I hope you have a happy new year. I hope I may be back. I may be back on Monday, depending on if we travel or not. And if I am, then I will be doing more relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons on Monday. If not, I will be here for sure on Friday of next week, but I will not be streaming. I will not be streaming on Wednesday on New Year's Day. And then we'll just see how 2025 goes. Oh, this doesn't cover all that well, does it? It is easier to control, but it looks like it leaves brush marks. play with these paints a little bit more before I actually go ahead and use them. So if I remember what I'm doing over the weekend, I will be sanding down these little bits where I did some filler. Okay, it's just messy, but like I said, it sands off easily, so it won't be messy. And then I'll prime these bits, and they'll be ready to for the next round of painting. If it looks okay, I'm going to go ahead and before the next stream, paint this black. I'm going to spray paint this glossy black color, and because you can't see that on stream anyway, because I'm spray painting it, and I can't do that here because I don't have a place to do that. Yeah, so I might just go ahead and make that nice and glossy black. If when I work on this over the weekend, I can sand it down and get it primed. The primer dries really fast, so I should be able to do that. And then the other part, and this was the source of great disappointment earlier in the stream, is I did get the cage put on here. Okay, the cage around the cockpit. It fits pretty well. It looks pretty nice, but these little protuberances here, okay, those raised areas that look like they're very much molded on, and they are not supposed to be there. They have to come off. So I have to remove the cage like that. It is removable. Okay, and then very carefully file those down and sand it and then touch it up, and then I can get the Porco Rosso figure into the seat. But right now those are interfering, and I just missed that. I just totally missed it when I was putting this together and prepping the pieces. I totally missed the fact that those needed to come off because it looks like they shouldn't come off, even though in all of the pictures, in all of the instructions, they aren't there. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I won't just break everything and have to start over. Don't know. Well, thanks everybody. I hope you had a really good Christmas or whichever holidays you actually celebrate. I don't know, but I hope you had great holidays and that you will be able to you also have a good New Year's. And I will plan, I'll be back on Monday, maybe. Why don't you, if you're really interested, why don't you check in on Monday? You can just check in to see if I'm streaming after 10 o'clock. And if not, then that means that I'm traveling and I'm not here. And if I am, then you'll see me attempt to fix that cage and get the hull done and then move ahead with these engine parts. Right. Thanks again. And hopefully I will see you next Friday for sure. Maybe Monday as well. That's to be seen. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate the new subscriptions, and let everybody know about this stream, but also about our Dungeons and Dragons show, which is really worthwhile. Thanks again. See you next week.